Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Yasmin Robles. I'm the owner of Robles Designs, where we create jewel-worthy websites and brands for entrepreneurs who are hell-bent on taking over the world. We do this not just by making pretty websites, but by adding strategy behind it, which is why I bring in speakers like Eryn, because Eryn focuses on the part that I always falter in, which is blogging and content creation and social media. So it's the way you get people to your site. So Eryn, while I'm losing my voice,
Yeah.
why don't you introduce yourself?
Perfect. So, thanks for having me today. My name is Eryn Gilson. I run a website called 614 Mom, which is a blog dedicated to women of Columbus. And then I also have my own consulting firm where I help entrepreneurs with the strategy behind their content creation. So I do some full-time management for some clients. I do one-on-one like trainings and strategy sessions with clients, and then I also teach classes on blogging, social media, all of the things. So, and I actually, this time, while I haven't been able to work on them, I've come up with new courses that I can put out there, just finding that time, right? So all very exciting stuff. And I was recording one of my classes today that is eventually going to go online. And I was like, I'm just kind of like a blogging nerd. I just love it. And I think that there's so many benefits to it. And I think that's just the best way to describe it. So yeah. So today I thought we would just talk about 5 things to kind of think about when you're getting ready to start your blog. And then open it up to questions. So if anyone has anything or a situation that you kind of want to talk through, I'm happy to do that. So to get started, I always like to think about the goals behind the website and the content and everything, because you can't do any strategy, you can't track progress without first knowing like what the goals are. So I always recommend really sitting down and thinking about what that looks like. Is it, getting new clients? Is it working on, generating income from your site? Like what does that look like? And then just being able to track it from there. And then planning from there. So, right. So like you have your goals. And I typically always suggest that, you have like 3 to 5 like really focused things that you're working on in terms of goals. And then you have to plan and stay consistent. So a lot of times people will start the blog and then they'll write a post and then just kind of, go away for a while, and they won't talk, they won't say anything, they're not creating content. But planning and staying consistent is going to be so key in generating the views and everything that you need for a successful website and a successful blog. So I typically recommend that people start by, having their blog planned at the very beginning of the month for the entire month. And then also thinking ahead. So like without everything that's going on in this world, I would have started thinking about like Mother's Day and like March to plan for content that I'm going to start creating, because Mother's Day is early May, and so we want to really start talking about that at the beginning of April, because that's when people are planning everything. So just making sure that you're kind of staying ahead of where things are, instead of constantly just feeling like you're chasing your tail. And then just staying consistent. I actually had a photographer friend of mine who blogs every Friday. Like you can count on it, it's coming. And I was telling her how awesome I think that was, that I was like, I love reading your emails because they're short and sweet. They get me the information that I need, but they also are I can always count on seeing them on Fridays. And she's like, well, if I can't stay consistent in my content creation, how can people count on me to stay consistent in my business? And I was like, can I use that later on? Because I really thought that was such a great way to look at it. Making sure that you're staying consistent is not necessarily just so that people have something to read. It's so that they know that what they're getting from you. Blogging is so much more than just putting out content and hoping people come to read it. It's connecting with your audience and connecting with your potential customers so that they want to buy from you and they want to continue to read from you, and they get excited when you launch something new. And so it really has so many benefits. So anyways, and then the third thing to think about, and I talk fast, but again, I just love what I do, and then I love open conversations, and so we're getting to that part. So making money from your site. I think it's really important that you think about how you want to do this, because there are so many ways. To just name a few, there's affiliate marketing, which is where you can put a link on your site, and then if they purchase through that link, you get a percentage of the commission. There's digital products. So if you're a photographer, having like stock photography that people can look at and purchase so that they can use it for their social media purposes. There's other digital products, so like stock photography, presets for photos, so you can have like if you use Lightroom. And then it's honestly, this is such an interesting way to do like a webinar because I can't see anyone's faces, which is totally fine. But I'm so used to like seeing people like nod along or something, and I can't see any of that. So digital products, some of the other things like ebooks, putting together things like that are also really great ways to drive revenue. Physical products are also really big. If you are specializing in home decor or something like that, and you have, a new home decor line that you put out, that's a really great way to generate revenue. At Google Ads or other ad networks like Google Ads can also generate revenue. It's based on how many clicks to your website and things like that. So and the different types of ads, and it gets very tricky, and so it's more of a custom thing that you would want to look at to see if it's beneficial. But those are just a few ways to name a few. I normally tell people that templates for something you do. Oh yeah, so like a template for a website or Canva, that's also really huge. Media kit templates are also really big. So yeah, that's a good one. And then so we have digital products, physical products, affiliate marketing, Google Ads or other ad networks. And then I always tell people that even if you don't think affiliate marketing is going to be where you need to like focus time, I would argue that there's something that you can focus your time in with affiliate marketing. I tell a client of mine sent me a blog post yesterday, and I was reading through it, and she was like, I don't really feel like I wrote it for affiliate links. And I was like, you didn't. That's my job. Like, I will handle that for you. You don't have to think about that. And I was able to go through and find like 5 or 6 different places that we could put affiliate links easily, and then a few more places that we could kind of tweak some things and add some affiliate links. It's just a really great way to kind of generate that passive income. And the more you do it, the more natural it feels, and then the more money you generate for your website. And a lot of times it's like, okay, well, how much is like a good goal number that I can make from affiliate marketing? It really just depends on how often you're putting out content, how regular and consistent you are with that, and then also how many affiliate links are in there. So Amazon, for example, if you put an Amazon affiliate link in your post and say that you're recommending a book, and they go and they purchase that book plus 10 others, you get a percentage of the sale of all of what's in their cart when they check out, not just the one book you recommended. So it really does have a way to grow without you having to like worry too much about it. So and most of the time affiliate links are helpful. Like if I'm recommending a book and I don't tell you, like if I don't send you a link and then it happens to have a similar title to another book, and then people are just confused. And so they can be and are normally very helpful to your readers. It's not just a selfish, like, link to earn commission. It can be both. So yeah, I'm a big believer in affiliate links. And if you guys have questions on like the type of content you're putting out there or anything like that, there is a way for affiliate links. I mean, and you don't have to necessarily go through Amazon. Target, even the Dollar Tree has an affiliate program, which I was really surprised at. I had a client that uses them, and so she does stuff for organizational stuff for homes, and she uses them a lot. And so we were able to find their program. So a lot of companies, even if you're not thinking about it, I would at least go look because you never know. And then setting up your system. So this is a huge one in terms of blog posts and content creation. And I think that if you can get your systems in place, the content creation is going to come so much easier for you if it doesn't already. So you have your blog post set up, and then you have an email list, social media channels. You want to connect Google Analytics. And then, yes, I believe Amazon is a great program to start with affiliate links. It's easy to use, and it is pretty straightforward. Plus, they kind of have a really good system going. So they've worked out all of the kinks already, and so they're a really great program to start with. You do have to have I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I think it's 3 qualifying sales within a certain time frame. And you want to make sure that that's not coming from someone that lives in your same house or someone that you've shipped something to in another house. They see all of that. So just something to note. But setting up your system. So newsletters, Google Analytics, social media, all of those things, you want to have that set up. Because then when you go in and you're writing this blog post and you've written 5 already and you're ready to go and you want to put out one every single Friday, you have it scheduled so you don't have to think about it in your blog system. Then you have it scheduled in your email system. You don't have to think about it. You have it scheduled on social. You don't have to think about it. Like, there's so many ways to just make it work for you so that you don't feel like you're constantly having to create, and you can focus on the other parts of your business that you love and that bring you joy and that you're passionate about. But you can still make sure that you are showing up online. So I'm a big believer in putting those systems in place. And then staying ahead of content. We kind of talked about this already, just making sure that, if you want to start, so like for me, for 614 Mom, when I'm thinking of November and December, I'm thinking about gift guides. So I start planning the gift guides in August because I also do my own photo shoot with them. So I need to get all of the products in and then do the photo shoot in like August, early September so that I can start producing the content in October so that November I can start publishing it. So it really does take some time, but you just kind of want to stay ahead of things so that, again, it doesn't feel like you're just, always trying to play catch up. And then legal. So I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to give you like certain legal advice. So let me just say that. I can definitely recommend somebody, but that is not my area. But you do want to make sure that you have disclosures, disclaimers, a privacy policy, and terms and conditions and all of that on your website, which I know Yasmin has talked about, and she's had guest speakers there for your website before, but for blogging specifically, I have, if you are doing a sponsored post, that's another way you can make money from your site. I didn't even mention that. If you are doing a sponsored post, so a brand is paying you to specifically talk about them and their products or services, that's considered a sponsored post, and you want to make sure that you tell your audience that. So for me, mine look a little bit like, thank you so much for, thank you so much to, I don't know, I'm like blinking. Thank you so much to Shiny Eagle for sponsoring this post. As always, all thoughts and opinions remain my own. And then I also typically add, and thank you to 614 Mom readers for supporting the businesses that support 614 Mom. Because it does just kind of add in that extra little piece that says thank you to the readers too, because they're reading the free content and the sponsored content, and they still, even if it's sponsored, it doesn't, what I'm doing is never going to come off as an ad. It's going to come off the way that I write everything, which is truly to be helpful and to add value. And so it just kind of says thank you to them for just being around and, sticking by me while I write all of the things that I love. And then that can change based off of the brand you work with or different things on what that disclaimer looks like. Now, you also want to make sure that you're adding those same things for affiliate links. And you have to put them before any affiliate link on your website. So, saying this blog post may contain affiliate links or does contain affiliate links, I may earn a small commission from the sale if you were to purchase through these links. Just making it very clear and very, not cloudy at all, because you want them to know that there is a chance that you may earn a commission. Now, I say a chance because if they go to the Amazon link that you sent them to for Amazon and they buy alcohol, you're not going to get a percentage of that sale. Or if they buy, there's a few other things in there that you get 0% on. So you don't know that you're going to earn a commission of that sale. Depending on what they buy. And you don't know what that commission looks like, because with Amazon, there's a whole list of different percentages based off of what what type of product it is. So just something also to keep in mind there. And then also, if you're giving away like recipes, fitness advice, anything that could fall into the medical world, all of those things, you really want to check with your attorney first and kind of see what their recommendation is. But I would always recommend a disclaimer, just to say, like, consult your doctor before starting this workout program. Things that you see everywhere that you are just kind of, you glance over because that's just, as the reader and the consumer, that's what we do. But from a business perspective, we have to keep that in mind. So, yeah. Oh, okay, I think I said that in one breath. So sorry. That's just what I do.
No, it's good. It's all good information.
Good.
Do you want me to jump into some questions? Because I have questions for myself. I had questions from people who responded to my email, from the email list. And if anybody has questions as well, feel free to type them into the chat. Or unmute yourself if you're not worried. I'm recording, so if you want to unmute yourself and pop in and just ask a question, that is totally cool too.
Yeah.
You ready for some questions?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, what is the biggest mistake that a newbie blogger makes? Like the one you see coming up repeatedly, and you're like, oh, why can't they just not do this?
Yeah. I think it's consistency and also not getting so worked up about the numbers. As a new blogger, or adding blogging to your already, put together website and business, if you're so wrapped up in the numbers, it's going to not motivate you to keep writing and to create content. So I would say that, like, the best thing that I could say is to write content without worrying about the numbers for a while, because you're going to see it and you're going to be like, this isn't making a difference. I'm done. But it takes time. It takes time for Google to understand, like, what you're doing, because you're changing. Like, you haven't been doing this. It takes time for your readers to be like, oh, I clicked on this one because it seemed interesting. This is actually, like, good stuff. I should read more of what she's putting out there, or he's putting out there. So it takes time. And I really, it's not something that's going to be like a quick thing or a quick money maker. You got to really put the energy and time behind it. I think that's what I would say is the one thing I see people do a lot is they're like, well, this didn't work. It's a week later, but I'm done. So
Yeah, yeah. So it's a marathon versus a
yes,
sprint. Yeah,
exactly.
and I like how you also brought up Google um, and analytics and how it takes time for them to go find you
Yeah.
and you have to plan everything out. So thank you so much for
Yes, of
reinforcing that.
course.
And Anna asks, do you recommend us all to share our Facebook posts, our posts on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest to bring visitors to the site?
Definitely. Pinterest is going to be huge for, but you got to do it right. So you got to create the right graphics and do all of the things. And Pinterest is like, think about Pinterest as like a visual Google. So it's not necessarily a social media channel. It's more of a visual Google. And if you think about it that way, it kind of switches that mindset a little bit. But for Facebook and Instagram, if you have LinkedIn and it seems relevant, I would recommend sharing all of it everywhere that you can, especially when you're starting out. Because I know that you're starting out, right? So, everywhere that you can. And then at some point, I also recommend having a Facebook page and a Facebook group and making sure that you have both.
Okay. We also have, what's the ideal length for a blog post?
Yeah. So this one, it really depends on the type of content. If it is, and I could break this down and send you an email because I have it saved somewhere, but my computer died last week, guys. It was so depressing.
Oh, no.
I'm using my husband's
That's my
today.
biggest fear.
Yeah, mine
everything
too.
is closed.
Yes, he was able to take it somewhere, but they're like, our wait time is crazy right now. And I'm like, of course it is. So I have it saved somewhere, which is like what the ideal stuff is for each type of subject matter. But I would aim for 500 to 800 words, especially to start, and then you can always ramp that up. I also recommend using like headers and subheaders to kind of break up the text because it's better to have a longer blog post for SEO reasons and for all of those things. But and it can even get up where it's like 800 words to 1,300 words. Like it really can
I've
kind
heard
of
more. I've heard
I
a lot
know.
more. It depends on who you listen to, but yeah.
It does. It does depend on who you listen to, and I think it is important based on like the content that you're writing because, sometimes that's why like food bloggers, you'll see a lot of times they give you like their full like story about their great grandma's second cousin that makes this really delicious thing,
Yeah.
and
I'm
so
like,
but
get to the recipe.
yeah, exactly. But they do that because it's best for SEO. It's best for connecting, and so it helps people want to come back. And so there's a lot of factors that go into that. So it would be terrible for me to just give a blanket answer, but that's kind of my go-to. 800 to 1,300 is typically what I tell people to start, but I know that can seem overwhelming. But if you break it up and have subheaders and headers, and it makes it skimmable, that's good too, because you have a lot more text, but you're able to break that up so people can see kind of and bounce around as they want. So.
All right. And how can you set up legal pages for a personal lifestyle blog? I'm assuming that's similar to any other blog, right? But it also depends on the attorney.
Yeah. So every site is going to want to have, and Yasmin, like jump in here because this is not my area. I do have an attorney that I'm just kind of taxes and legal is they're just
yeah.
Get rid of those and pay the right people to do that for me. But you need a privacy policy, a terms and conditions, for sure. And that really is custom to what type of site you have and what you're doing with your site. Are you selling products? Are you selling services? Are you just giving advice? Kind of what that looks like. And then you can also break that down and have like vocabulary page where it kind of helps explain to people more like what sponsored means and what ad means and like all of those different things are hosted, and all of that. But I don't know that that's 100% necessary. I think sometimes it's just an added bonus that kind of helps with transparency. Am I missing anything that you need legally on your website? Like just standard?
Just a couple of disclaimers depending on your industry. So I know that
Yeah.
some of my clients have, if they host events, they will have an event specific disclaimer, disclaimers for if they are a fitness instructor at the footer of their site, they'll have that kind of disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's all super custom. So, the guy I use, his name is Demetrius, and he is wonderful. I know he's been a speaker before, right?
Yeah, he was a speaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
And doesn't make you feel like you should know this already. He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. And Anna, she launched her blog about 4 days ago. So congratulations.
Hey.
And how can you then, Denise? How can you use LinkedIn as well to promote your content? This is my question too, because most of my clients would be on LinkedIn, but you don't want to come off like, I don't know. What do you think?
I think LinkedIn can be tricky based off of the type of content that you're creating. But I also think that if that's where your target market is, then it's an amazing platform to be on and to be sharing your stuff on. And I think one of the best tricks for LinkedIn would be to share other people's content at least, twice as much as you're sharing your own. And people love blog posts on LinkedIn, but they love like you writing it within the LinkedIn platform so that they don't click to an outside area, but it's still, it's more of like a caption, but it's not. It's more like a LinkedIn blog post. It's lengthy, and so I think sharing stuff in there is great. As long as you're engaging, it's definitely possible. And I know that for Digital Hustle Tribe and Robles Designs, it's 100% a place that you should be, and we should be spending time and adding into the strategy. So,
so if we're blogging on LinkedIn, would so I've heard about, so for SEO, we don't want to create duplicate content, but that means like you would be managing 2 different blogs, right? If you have your own blog and then you're blogging on LinkedIn and then trying to get that traffic to your own blog.
Essentially, you could also, depending on how long your blog post is, you could also take some of the content from your blog and post it just like you would on like a Facebook caption or something, and make that kind of the LinkedIn post, but then have the call to action be to like read more, go here. That's an option too. And because it's kind of more of like a transition piece, it's not going to, it's going to feed into your site, which would be good. And that's what I would probably say to do and to spend your time there, because you want to give someone a call to action. So what's your call to action on LinkedIn? Is it getting people to your site? Is it getting people to like interact? Kind of what does that look like? What's the goal of LinkedIn? Sales or connections? Or I think it all just depends on what that goal is before we can say like, okay, we should be blogging on LinkedIn, or no, because that's not where sales are coming from, and so we shouldn't be spending a lot more time on that. That makes sense.
Yep.
I'm a goal person. I like to know, like, okay, so this is the end goal, and these are the steps on how we're going to get there. But when things are super abstract, it makes it hard, because it's like LinkedIn can be a great place for you to be, but is it worth it based off of where you want to spend your time and what you're doing? So,
Amy asks, can you explain SEO a little bit more? Tips?
Yeah. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And it is basically, websites have like basically spiders, robots that crawl your website and look for indicators. So they're looking for keywords, backlinks. Is your website SEO friendly? and all those things. Are you creating original content? All of that stuff. And so when we're talking about wanting to make sure that you are staying on top of SEO, it's making sure that you're, being able to be seen by the Google robots and, shown on the front page as much as possible. So just making sure that, your website's fast, it's mobile friendly. Yasmin, I know that you still need an SSL certificate, but are they pretty standard on most like websites and hosting at this point?
Yeah, most of them. The only one, and they don't include it in their pricing or certain tiers, is GoDaddy and like Bluehost. But I think Bluehost now, if you buy hosting, it just comes with it. But some of you want to make sure that whatever tier level you're getting an SSL certificate. Yeah. But most of them, like if you go into Squarespace or Shopify, I believe, I think you get the SSL package. Yeah.
I know when everyone was going through all of the transitions, Squarespace was like, we have you covered. You don't have to worry about it. And so I never really paid much attention to it because I didn't have to. But I know that that's something that you need to for Google to rank you and to be included for SEO. So you also want to look at, you have Google Analytics set up, so you want to have that set up, but then you also want to have Google Search Console. And then there's a few other websites that I can, I'll send to Yasmin that I use that you can also use to search keywords. But you want to think of it kind of like, this is like a really generic overview, just for simplicity and time.
Yeah, it can get real deep.
It can. I mean, there are people that truly like SEO is their main gig because it really can get so deep. But like you have like lamps, right? And you're like, I really want people that are purchasing or looking at lamps. Okay, so like that keyword is going to be way too competitive for you to get in on. So we need to like really think about what that looks like. Is it DIY lamps? Is it DIY lamps on a budget? Like we really need to kind of like trim down like what is it and make it very specific, so that you can make sure that that kind of stuff is included in your blog posts. It's included in other areas of your website, and it just kind of helps boost that so that they're like, oh, this is the place if you want to make your own lamps, So just a very, very generic overview about keywords and just kind of thinking about those in different avenues. And you don't want to just have like lamps, like you want to have all of, the things. So what, for people starting out, I typically like to tell them to think about like, 5 pillars of what they're doing, and start there. And you can always go up, go down, kind of figure that out, but start there. And that way you don't feel so overwhelmed.
Yeah, what I tell clients is that, if they are, let's say, blogging about food, what are the top things that they will be blogging about, and kind of getting those keywords, but then using them as a guidance, because I think it can get really overwhelming on like, I have to have do-it-yourself lamps in every single blog post in that exact format. And I'm like, no, you just need to have valuable content and it'll take care of itself. Yeah.
Exactly. I think a lot of times that would be another thing that I think a lot of times new bloggers will get caught up in. It's the numbers and then the SEO, and they kind of go hand in hand. But they're like, well, wait a minute, I don't know what my keywords are. And I'm like, well, that's because people aren't finding you yet. Create the content. Create amazing, valuable content, and then we can worry about that other stuff. But first, do that.
Anna says, I'm also struggling with SEO and I'm feeling like it's stealing me the time that I would be using to produce content. Yeah, and this is myself as well. And I do like on-site SEO, and it still feels like it's sucking the life out of me.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with like balancing the numbers and creating that content, and then expanding on that, actually promoting the content that's on your blog?
Yeah, so the systems that I have in place really help me with being able to kind of do the businessy side of things with the Google Analytic check-in, the SEO check-in, all of those things. And I check that like once, maybe twice a month. And I know that like to some people, they're like, oh my gosh, like lady, you're crazy. But it otherwise, like it stresses me out. And so I can't stress about it. So I write the content, and because I love creating and I love writing, and that is like where I find joy. And these are mainly for my own sites. If I'm looking at a client site, it's a much different process. But since I'm talking to a lot of people who are doing it themselves, it's different. So when I'm looking at my own stuff, if I were to constantly, like every day, be checking analytics, that would completely destroy my creativity. I would not be able to like write the content that I know my readers want to read and that like feels right. It would just constantly like, oh crap, I have to make sure I get lamps in here. Lamps, I don't know. Like it would just drive me crazy. So I just can't do it. So I check in my systems. I write my content. I check SEO. I check analytics, Google Search Console, and all of those things to kind of see where things are, and just make sure I have keep my hand on the pulse there, but I don't make it something that is stressing me out. And I would recommend that to you too, especially like Anna, you said that you just launched 4 days ago. Do not let SEO control, like keep you from producing the content. Produce the content first, especially with how new you are. That hands down is more important than SEO right now for you, in my opinion. Other people may tell you otherwise. What do you think, Jasmine?
Well, yeah, I think if SEO is just taking up more time, but you know the subject matter that you're going to be writing about. So, for example, you write about staying as a mom in 6 months going to Columbus, Ohio. Like, where can you take your kids to like entertain them for a while? So, if you know the subject matter and your target market, you can start creating the valuable content. And I always tell them it's more important to create value and get to a certain number of words within that blog post. Have images that you can take images with your phone. That's fine as long as they're not blurry, not pixelated. And then just launch the thing and then monitor it, see how it went in 6 months. And if it needs to pivot, it pivots. But you won't know until. Same thing with editing your website. You can't really just go in and completely rebrand a website and recreate everything if you don't know what the numbers are, because you might have a page or a blog post that is really popular and then you get rid of it and that traffic is gone. So those are my thoughts. But I have a question. Oh, there's a question. My target audience. Her target audience. We have someone who has a target audience that works in corporate, but wants to work in their what's next. What do you mean in what's next? Like a life after corporate? My life after corporate is owning my business, but now I'm stuck at home. So make sure if you have questions to put them in the chat. We'll look through them. I do have a question that I got via email. And I get it from clients a lot, how many times should I be blogging? And I always say, do it at least once a week, no less than 2 times a month. What are your thoughts? Am I telling them the wrong thing?
No, I think once a week is a really good place to start. You don't want to, I guess you can blog less than that, but I would recommend at least once a week. But if you can, 3 times a week would be amazing. And it also, again, all right, I'm sorry, guys. It really depends on what your goals are. If this is like you want your site to be your full-time income, then you need a blog every single day. And you need to be cranking out that content. If you are like, my blog is an additional revenue stream to a business that I'm working really hard in, then once a week is probably a good number. It keeps you consistent, it keeps you relevant, it keeps you in front of your audience, but it doesn't feel so overwhelming to you that like you are just constantly working on your site and not on your business. And I think that it can go like hand in hand in what makes the most sense to you. But once a week is a good base, and then 3 to 5 times a week if you're really wanting to really generate some revenue from your site. Does
can,
that feel overwhelming?
yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So my goal of being, I thought it was like next month. If I blog like once a week, maybe next month I could start making money out of it. But I guess that's
you can definitely still make money from once a week, guaranteed. But it's not going to be as easy or maybe as much money as it could be if you were blogging 5 times a week.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the same. It also probably depends on your target market, and because I am on some email lists where typically people just email once a week. That's like the standard, and some people email every single day. But you read because it's so valuable. You actually you save the emails and you read through them.
And then sometimes people will blog every single day, but they may not send you an email until the end of the week, and then they include all of them in there, but they were still working on that content, and it helps with, other aspects. So it really you can build your content up, do it. If you're feeling really creative and you're excited about what you're writing, I would just write until your heart's content. I know sometimes for me, like, I get writer's block, and so sometimes I just have to sit and write when I can, because otherwise I don't know when the next blog post is coming out. It just it can change.
Yeah. Let's see. Anna says, to avoid this happening, I was thinking of creating an SEO checklist with a few important things to point, great content. I would say, yeah, clients love checklists where they can just go in and say, so for example, with e-commerce, they can say, okay, do I have certain keywords on the description of the product? Do I have certain keywords on the title of the product? So they just creating a simple checklist, but like Eryn said, don't let it bog you down. So if you're feeling creative, and you're just going to bang out that blog post, I would say just get that done with, because when you're not creative, then you can always go back and do the numbers and the SEO and the checklist stuff. But Eryn, you tell me all the wrong things I just said.
No, I think what you said was perfect. I think checklists are helpful, especially when you're beginning, because you want to make sure that you are doing everything you're supposed to, and it can feel so overwhelming. So having that checklist can be, so helpful. And so if that's what works for you, definitely do it. I know for the people that take my class, I have a few different blogging classes, and for the people that take my class, I have a infographic where it's okay, so this is where the blog starts, and then we go here, and then we go here, and we go everywhere. And so it kind of goes through what you should do once you have the blog post written, and then how that kind of moves and flows after you've written it. So I think that visual has helped so many people, because you're okay, I have a blog post, now what? So I can see where that would be super helpful for SEO as well. You just gave me an idea.
Yeah. And then, do you believe that it is possible to have a monthly income that you can live off of? I mean, you're doing that, right? With 6 Months for Mom?
Yeah. And it is definitely possible, 100%, between affiliate links, sponsored posts. I know right now a lot of sponsored content is being either pushed or hold, or, just not happening at all. So it's different right now. But yes, normally you can certainly make a monthly income that you can live on. And that's kind of why I started the classes that I teach, because that's, I was doing it, and everyone wanted to know how I was doing it and why I was doing it. And so, I created the business of blogging. So,
yeah. And what's exciting to me is that, and why I have I have to get started on the content too, but I have a side blog that I get to get fully accomplished with. But because I don't know, maybe I will shift gears, and if my husband decides to move back to Mexico, then I want to have that income but I want to make US money, right? So I want to have that income to then live over there and still be able to visit their version of Starbucks or whatever. I want to live in a touristy area. I'm sorry. But so that's the reason for my own goals and why I admire you, because you've been making a full-time income from blogging. So that's, and it's always like someone out there that you hear about, like some Instagrammer, but you never really meet them. And then I met
Yeah.
you, and I was like, wait, you're real?
I do exist.
Yeah.
It is totally possible. And I know the next question is how much time until that can happen. And I mean, that really does depend on how much time you're putting into it. Because I would be doing a disservice to you if I said, oh, you could totally make that within a year or two. And then you write once every 3 months. And I'm like, well, never mind. I was wrong. So it really just depends on, and I just saw your next comment. Of course, yes, it depends on consistency and engagement and things like that. But, for example, I started my blog in September. I have to really think about it. And by March, I had my first sponsored post. So it took me about 6 months to get my first paid gig. And then after that, what I noticed that was once one business was interested in doing sponsored content with me, more people saw it. And then I started doing sponsored content for a big department store, a big movie theater, a bank, a lot of different companies that are larger. And so it can happen. And then, but then also, you need to know what to charge, and you need to have a media kit so that you can send these companies what your pricing looks like and all of those things. So those kind of things have to be in the back end too, to be able to make money with your website. You need to have a media kit.
I'm gonna put do you mean the URL for Eryn's site? I'll look it up and post it real quick.
Ooh, it's still a work. 614 Mom is great.
No, I think that's the one. Yeah, well, that's the one you're making a full-time income out of, right?
Yes.
And the one that'll show I think the one that will really show off. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Because we can. I don't know if you have them open, but we can go in and find blog posts, sponsored posts, all that stuff.
You definitely can. I have taken a little bit of time off of writing over the last month or so, just because
I think everyone has.
So ignore that. But I go in through spells sometimes where I'm feeling super inspired and wanting to write, and then times where I'm like, oh my goodness. And now is one of those times where I just am feeling. But because I have a little bit of not more time, but slower time, I just planned out what my next 3 weeks of content will look like. So stay tuned. Because I know what the plan is.
Yeah. Yeah. If anybody else has any final questions for Eryn, pop them into the chat. I did have a question about choosing a topic, and I think I don't know if this is more to do with, well, I have two questions. Choosing a topic on what to blog about. So I always tell clients your website should have one goal, and it should be about one thing, or maybe a split of that one thing. So if it's I'm making websites, but I work with agencies and work with one-on-one with businesses, that would still be under the category of websites. But then my side project,
I love that you call it your side.
Yeah, because I have way too many side projects. So I want to start this, and but how do I end up choosing? I don't want it to be about all the things, because I don't want it to be about my kids and the books I'm reading or listening to and the fails on cooking, but also about building up my business. I don't know if because that feels too broad to me. So what are in order to make some kind of income from a blog, how do you even decide what to hone in on? Is that considered a lifestyle blog when you're blogging about all the things, or how do you even get started?
Yeah. So, for me, 614 Mom is a lifestyle blog. And I like to think of it as my 5 pillars. So I have, and those are, if it doesn't fit within one under those, I don't write about it. And almost anything can, but I turn it into a way to fit them. So I have mom life, kids, Columbus, mental health, and gift guides and lists and things like that. So almost anything I'm writing on 614 Mom will fall into that. And if it doesn't, then that tells me that I'm probably not writing about the right content, or that sponsorship is maybe not the right fit for the site. But I think having those categories helps, because then people can kind of see what else is under there and different things. But I know that 5 can I just have a lot to say, and I'm kind of all over the place. So other times if that seems like a lot, I tell them to go down to 3, because it does, for a blog, it's much harder to get loyal readers when you're talking strictly about like one thing. Like, for example, recipes. Like, yeah, it's great that it's like a recipe blog, but if all you wrote about were chocolate cake, I mean, maybe people would come to that all the time because it's chocolate cake, but also they may be like, okay, give me like how to make some chocolate cupcakes or something. And so I think it's just important to kind of diversify that a little bit. But that's for like a lifestyle personal blog, not for a business website where, like, I'm with you. Like, my business website has, for Eryn Gilson Consulting, it's either people that want to work with me one-on-one or people that want to take my class. Like, those are the 2 goals of the website. So I think it kind of changes when you're just on the website to read someone else's opinions and thoughts and, you know, ideas and things like that. So it's not nearly as cut and dry as a business website.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's so not easy, but the subject that you're going to write about is easier for the Robles Designs or Digital Hustle Tribe, because I know, okay, this is who I'm targeting, this is what they want to know. But then for that side project, it's different, because I wanted it to be me, but at the same time, I don't think everybody wants to know kind of like when Facebook first came out and everybody was posting every single thing that they were doing.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
So that's not what I wanted to turn into.
Twitter was like 10 times worse when Twitter came out and everyone was on that, and it was like super quick, like tweets, and I was like, I can't even handle it. So I'm right there with you. I think that's why, like, just having a few certain categories helps, because then, okay, like for me, if it can't fall under mom life or kid life or Columbus or mental health, like, it's probably not something worth writing about. It's not something that my target audience is going to care about. Because I know that, like, my target market for 614 Mom are moms that traditionally live in Columbus, but some of what I'm writing can go further than that. And they are typically parents. I do have a lot of dads that read the site too. And they are kind humans, and they understand, like, mental health and, like, just really wanting to do our best, but also not kill ourselves in the process, and like all of those things. And it's not just like all about the kids, it's mainly about the mom and the parent. And so I write to that because, and I think that now I just want to know more about this side business, so I can say, this is what you're writing about.
Yeah, we'll set up a chat.
Great.
Yeah. All right. So if there are any other questions, feel free to pop them in any last minute questions. Where can we find you, Eryn? Regarding audience/content, sometimes I have the feeling that I should have a crystal ball so I can guess what they want to learn about. Am I the only one? I would say this has to do with research, right? Researching who you will be targeting.
Yeah, and I kind of just want to learn more about your site and what you're doing, because you definitely have to do some trial and error and some research to kind of figure out who your audience is, and all of those things. But kind of like we were talking about before, that stuff will come once you start writing. You'll learn, maybe your audience, you thought you were writing for an audience of 50 and above, and all of your readers are 25 to 35. So, like, it really can change based off of, what your analytics are saying. So just kind of being able to see that stuff and adjust to it. and just know that. But research and then trial and error and all of it. I mean, it is, but also like, who do you want to write to? Because you're putting together a lifestyle blog. So like, it's not, for my business, like for my classes, for example, I am targeting people that want to start the lifestyle blogger, people that want to start making money from their website and they're really ready to like hit the ground running. That's my target market. But I wouldn't target someone who's doing a blog strictly as like a hobby, because they probably won't get the same impact from the class because they're not putting the same effort into it. That's very straightforward. I know that. What you're doing is more inspirational, educational, advice, things like that. And that can really kind of be a little bit more broad. So I think that it's going to take time to figure that out too.
Yeah, I with a lot of sites, you launch them and you get to just watch who's coming to them and who's coming to your Instagram, not your Instagram, sorry, your website.
Yeah.
And then looking at the numbers and seeing, okay, I have this age range, but that could be your target and new target audience. You could pivot towards them, or you could pivot the content to meet who you were really looking forward to.
Exactly.
Getting on the site. So yeah, I would say launch everything. Whoever's listening, just launch it, myself included, my side project, launching it, and then really just putting out valuable content, and and then talking to Eryn about how to monetize it.
That's what I love.
Yeah. So Eryn, where can we find you in all the places?
Yeah. So on social media, you can either find me under Eryn Gilson or 614 Mom on Instagram and Facebook. And then my website is 614mom.com or eryngilsonconsulting.com. That's getting a little bit of a revamp, so ignore what it looks like now. It looks fine, but it's going to look even better and amazing when it's done. And I'm very excited for that. But so that's where you can find me: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of the things. So yeah.
And do you have an estimate? I know you're working on the digital part of your courses. Is there an estimated launch date or a wait list or something?
Yeah, so you can definitely email me to get on the wait list. I recorded the first one today, and I hope to record the rest of them next week or the week after. And the first one will at least be live by May 1st. So.
That's exciting. That's pretty soon. Yeah.
Yeah, it is so exciting. It's really nice. People have been asking me for this because I've been teaching this class in person for so long, and they're like, Eryn, the only holdup is I can't do Wednesdays at 7 or Wednesdays at 10 or whatever. And so it's like, all right, I'll put them online. And then I was supposed to be working on that now. And then all of this hit, and I'm like, now I need to do it sooner because everything's going virtual anyway. So
I took, so in full a disclaimer, I did take Eryn's, I think it was the beginner's blogging course. And it just reinforced things I knew, but then also opened my eyes up to like the affiliate, making money with affiliates, and just how that I can link things, whether, let's say with the Digital Hustle Tribe, I can link certain things that I mentioned on the blog and at least pay for the website. Like I can do that, when I get around to it. But
well, I was actually just talking about that today when I was recording the class. One of the things I said is like, you can make money from this, and you can make as little or as much as you want, whether it's to just pay for the web hosting or to help just cover all of your marketing costs, or if you just want to make a real profit. Like, it's all possible, which is what's really exciting about it, because it's online and it can be so passive. So anyways, I get really excited about that, so I'll stop.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I know that Denise is asking that if she can get an email notification about your launch on May 1st or around May 1st. Well, if you, I will send out an email. If you can give me a link maybe to a form or something that people can sign up, and I will send an email out to everyone who signed up for today's
Definitely.
event. And then you can definitely get on that, and hopefully everybody launches their amazing blogs, and then we're all like, right? Because this is the life, right? We're going to go to Hawaii when this is all over. We're all going to be on the beach living off our blogs. This is it.
Yes. Yes. I love it. That
All right.
would be amazing.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much, Eryn. I hope
Thank you for
everyone
having me.
has an amazing rest of the week. And yeah, I think just go ahead and get started. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.